First time you're on a podcast?
Yes, my very first one.
Oh, you gotta talk out loud. You said I'm gonna put my radio voice and you put your shy voice. Don't put your radio voice. And then I ask you one question, you're like, it's my first time. You sounded like a young Mike Tyson. Can you say times with dad?
Times dad. So let's get this podcast started.
First time on a podcast?
Yes.
Okay. You nervous?
No,
you seem
fine.
like a little tight, like a little wide. I know you got that big chest and shoulders, but you like warmed up a little bit.
I'm good.
When it came to you watching Andrew,
Yeah.
how was it?
When he was little?
No, on the podcast. When he was on that episode.
Oh,
when I interviewed him.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, obviously, because it's my son and he's speaking about his father. I don't think all the answers I kind of expected. So
nothing like caught you by surprise. Nothing hit the heart.
A lot of it did. It brought back memories when he was little. Kind of the struggles we've been through raising him. Mainly was financial. We were young parents, so I wasn't surprised when he kind of brought that up because that was a big part of his upbringing.
Did you guys have those conversations while he was being raised, or no? Like it just happened here and there.
No, I just think he saw it. Initially, I wasn't around a lot because I was in school. As you know, it took me like 12 years to get my degree. So between school and work, I really didn't have a lot of time for him. So by the time I did, I was 31 and he was at that age where he would hang out a little bit, but he was kind of doing his own thing. He was kind of closer to his mom at that time. But, it's a trade-off, right? I didn't have all those years when he was younger, but, I got all those years back, I think, when he was older. We hung out a lot later on.
Well, you're still pretty young. You guys got still time. Think about it. You guys can still walk in the club together right now if you really wanted to.
Yeah, it's tough, though. When they're little, you don't get those years back. And that's the one thing I learned. When you have more than one child, you kind of learn from the first one. We didn't have a second one, but if I could do it over, the one thing I would try to do would be to probably try to prioritize more time with my son who's little, because you don't get that back.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, especially when we have Blair now, like you said, I see certain things that I kind of rushed with Avery. Right. And now with Blair, I'm like, no, take your time. Like you want to sleep with us, whatever, right? So I definitely, but yeah, I can see that. And then like certain like career endeavors that I definitely had, I'm like, that's going to take a lot of my time. If the kids were like teenagers or above, the ages, they don't want to hang out with you anyway.
Right.
I would have definitely kept pushing that trajectory on the career. But I'm like, no, because like you said, like I can't get these years back. These are probably the most pivotal years from a memory standpoint. I mean, it sucks. You had to do what you got to do for the long game.
Priority is, you got to make sure you can take care of your family, and sometimes the sacrifices have to be made.
Yeah.
Later on, you kind of regret. Well, I'm gonna say regret. You kind of hope that things were different, and that you could have both, but you can't. There's only so much time in a day.
Like what? Like what do you mean both? Both of what?
So when I say both, I mean like if you're able to take care of, let's say, your career endeavors, like that was part of my goal, right? I had to, ideally you have time to develop your career, provide for your family, and also be there for your family. But I think that's a tough task to juggle for most people. I don't think that's very realistic for most people. That's why it's great if you can time having your children, which not everybody can. Things happen, things unforeseen or unexpected. So if you can plan for it, it's you're more prepared, right? You got your career out of the way, you have your endeavors out of the way, and now you can concentrate on your family and spend time with your family. That's ideal, but not everybody has that. So in my case, we had Andrew, which was a blessing, and then I had to get my career together, provide for my family, and the sacrifice was time, and that's time you just don't get back.
Was that the probably biggest sacrifice you would say? Was time?
I would say so. I look back and I have memories of my son. It's little things, right? I'd come home from school and we'd watch Scooby-Doo together. He'd come home from school and I'd make him milkshakes or I'd make him breakfast. So those are the memories I have. I unfortunately don't have a lot of like going on many vacations or taking them to the play. I used to take them to the playground, but not like every week or very often. Because when I had free time, which was minimal, I was trying to relax a little bit. So I'd like maybe on a Friday, I'd have a few hours to myself. But I had school pretty much Monday through Thursday, Fridays off, and then Saturday, Sunday homework. So even when he was playing football, I would try to make it to most of his games, but I couldn't make it to all of them. And now, like I said, those years are gone, right? You don't get that back, but you got to make a choice. If I were to do it again, I'd have to do the same thing, right? It's either provide for my family or spend time with my kid. But if I spend time with my kid, then I can't take care of my family. So you got to kind of prioritize one thing versus the other.
You was working full-time, overtime, on top of school?
Full-time and overtime and school. So
did you know when you wanted to do for school before you started, or you like learned as you was in school?
I think I'm one of those strange people that I knew what I wanted to do since I was in the 6th grade.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's strange. I remember like yesterday, I really wasn't a fan of school, but I did have luckily I had a few good teachers. So in the 6th grade, and coincidentally enough, it was my civics teacher, and he was talking about careers and jobs. And he said the one job that will always be around will be a job related to technology, electronics. I said, electronics? That sounds kind of interesting. And then he was like, yeah, all you got to do is be good in math and science. And I'm like, wow, I think I can do that. So in the 6th grade, I wanted to go into electronics. And that was the path that I pursued. And I don't regret it. I love it. I like what I do. But yeah, it's strange. Most people at that age don't know what they want to do. Right?
What were you doing for work while you was in school? Right. So
while I was in school.
Yeah. So you took 12 years, right? You basically took a dozen eggs of years to finish school.
Yeah.
What were you doing career wise?
So there was 2 parts. So early on, while I was in school, I was making watch bands. So you ever hear of the Twist the Flex bands? They flex.
I maybe.
Well, I worked for a company. They're no longer in business, but
for a reason, probably.
I went there because they paid for school. So I was there for a little bit, and I was making watch bands. And so you make watch bands by the spool, and then they get inspected. And I really didn't know what I was doing. So the person inspecting my watch bands was getting aggravated because they'd have to always fix them. So like 6 weeks into the job, I knew my machine was always broken. I could never get these bands to work properly. My boss comes over to me. He's like, hey, you have a meeting with HR. I said, oh, I'm getting fired. you know when you know you're just not good at something? I knew I wasn't good at it, right? Yep. I'm like, I'm getting fired. And I'm like, I understand.
Yeah.
Like, they're not making money with me, right?
Yeah.
So then I go to the office and the head of HR says, you know what? We found a job that's a better fit for you. Something was a better fit for me. I was 19 years old. What did I do? The only thing I've ever done was I was a janitor. I cleaned. I said, this was going to offer me? So she's like, we have a custodial position available. And you know what? I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I loved it because I was able to do my job, and then I had a little bit of downtime between cleaning, and I was able to study. So it provided me like extra study time at work. But yeah, I valued the job. They paid me. I did it for like just about 4 years. I didn't mind it. I would go in on Saturdays. I'd clean the floors. I'd strip them. And I'd get there for 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd finish like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was happy because it was time and a half. It was time and a half, and I made extra money that I needed. So yeah, they always provided me overtime. Winters, I would shovel the snow. And the summers, I would clean the compressors outside. He just gave me work, I think, because he knows, he knew that I kind of needed it.
Did he know you have a kid at the time?
Yeah.
Oh, so he was like, this dude.
This dude needs it. Yeah.
Do you think any of those experiences like molded you in a specific way now? Like if Andrew complains to you about like the child stuff and he's like, Daddy, this is hard working and raising a kid. Are you have sympathy or be like, I don't want to hear none of that?
I don't know. I think everyone kind of experiences things a little bit differently. the sacrifices I made and the stuff I went through helped me become who I am today. Like I said, like Andrew, when he graduated high school, he went to college, uh, and then he ended up going back for another degree. So he's kind of done his work. He's dealt with his own form of adversity. Uh, got a long drive to work, got long days. So like I said, everyone kind of has their own little, you know, pieces of adversity in their lives. It just may be a little bit different.
What are the sacrifices you think you had to make? I know you had to live on top of a voice.
What do you mean early on?
Yeah, with Andrew, you had to live on like Vavo's little thing that I was never allowed to go upstairs.
Yeah, that was kind of a crazy time for me. So here it is. I grew up in a very traditional background, both parents, 10 children, and come home one day and you tell your mom that your girlfriend's expecting, and then your mom looks at you and laughs and says, "What do you think? I didn't already know. I had 10 of my own kids." I'm like, okay, at least that was a little bit easier than I expected. But then the next thing was, if I could move in. So there were 2 bedrooms upstairs that were empty. And I asked if I could get up there and live up there for a while just to try to save some money, get my own place. And your grandmother was like, can't happen here. You guys are not married. I said, all right, well, we plan on it because we were. So she ended up letting us move in. I got a cheap refrigerator for like $120 that made noise like you wouldn't believe. This thing was so loud, but it didn't matter. I kept my food cold, and I had a microwave in the hallway. But we couldn't have an air conditioner.
I love how you're describing this place as if it wasn't Anne Frank's room. I've seen this place. This isn't 2 bedrooms.
No,
this is an attic that got sheetrock put up on it.
It was an attic.
And like how you said, the hallway was like as if it wasn't just a connector between the 2 rooms. It wasn't a hallway. It was literally the top of his landing of the stairs.
Yes, that is accurate. But at the time, it provided me what I needed. It was a place to lay my head. That's all we could afford at the time. Luckily, your grandmother let us live there. It was just funny because every time your grandmother would see like a friend from, a friend outside on the street, they would say, "Oh, Paul, he had a baby, huh? That's his girlfriend." And before would say, No. I'll talk about Svil. And she would keep saying that. And I'm like, Ma, why are you telling everybody that we're not married just yet? It's because we're very traditional. So that was a little tough in the beginning to get over that. It's not really a big deal. It's just, old school parents, their perception of things is just a little bit different. But we were embraced. Your grandmother, your grandfather were very good to us. The whole family was really, really good to us. But it was just an adjustment because obviously, everyone got married first and then had children. We did a little bit different. I wouldn't change it. I don't have any regrets over it.
You could say you was ahead of your time.
I made some sacrifices early on. Like I said, I really wasn't able to spend as much time with him as I wish I had. But I'm getting a lot of those years back now, right? Like I get to hang out with my son now. I'm still young, still healthy, luckily, knock on wood. We can hang out not just as father and son. I think we kind of hang out. It's more of a friend relationship. So I didn't get the years early on, but I'm getting the years back now. So,
you know what I like about your relationship with you and Andrew? If I, let's say, like want to hang out with you and I know you're going to say no, I really just be like, Andrew, call your dad as if he's a parent. And he'll call you and he'll be like, what the heck, Dad? You da-da-da-da. And then like 30 minutes later, you're like, John, you want to hang out?
Yeah, I do find that does happen. He does. Because like I said, I'm his father, but I don't know. I don't look at it that way anymore. The reason why my job as a father, as far as parenting him, socializing him, providing for him, doing all that stuff, I've done all that. There's nothing more I can teach him. He's a good man. He's a good father. He's a good husband. He can take care of himself. So my role as a father, I think, has been accomplished. Mm-hmm. So at this point, I can be more of a friend. So he and I kind of do have a relationship. So when he does speak to me sometimes, he does speak to me as a friend. Sometimes I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes off a little bit, I'm still old school. I'm like,
Yeah,
your dad.
I hear those. You know I'm your father, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Like, the way he talks to you is definitely not the way I could talk to my father, for sure. Like, I don't have the bond that you and Andrew have. I mean, me and my dad's bond is probably really started it, like, in the last, let's say when I was like 20 something. It really kind of kicked off a little bit. And it definitely kicked up way more when we started building a house. Like, we're hanging every day,
Right.
So I'm at the point where, like, some of my dad's tendencies that people are annoyed over, I'm like, he's old. Let him do his thing. Who cares?
Just let him be.
Yeah, just
right?
let him be. Like,
Just
he
let
did
him
his
be.
time. Like, whatever. Like, he wants to be like that. It is what it is. Like, so let me say this. We went into a bar.
Yeah.
This was last year before. We went into a bar. And it's a bar. Well, obviously, people are drinking. Obviously, someone's in there that's cocked. Like, they look like they've been there since yesterday, right? As soon as we walk in, he comes up to my dad. You see your friend, you like, hey, you go to greet him in a certain type of way. And as soon as my dad saw him, he's like, hey, that's my son. And as soon as someone starts to talk, he's like, hey, that's my son. That's my son. Like, he tells everyone, that's my son. That's my son. Hey, that's my son. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, Eddie's kid. And I'm like, no, how can you tell? Right? So he still puts that, like, be careful, my son's around, where, like, you're like, he's a grown man. Like you, the way you look at it is different. He's grown. Like, it is what it is. Like, I mean, I'm still going to parent him, but I don't have to pull that bubble anymore that, like, you do, like, with Avery. Like, certain things I'm like, oh, this, like, chill out, whatever. Avery's around. When he's older, probably, like, not have to do that. But right now, I definitely do it. My father still has the bubble in a lot of areas.
Yeah, I get that. I think you'll never stop being a parent. Like, obviously, there's things that I'll still, like, as a father, I'll still kind of do. And it may be annoying, maybe to an extent. Like, whenever he leaves my house, regardless of when it is, I always tell him, make sure you text me when you get home. I still call him to see how he's doing and stuff, which that's not a big deal. But, like, I know, like, if I ask him what he's doing or where he's going, I don't think it annoys him, but at the same time, it's like, it's kind of force of habit. Like, think about it. He's got his own family. He's got his own life. He does his own thing. He doesn't have to report to me.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, when he's at my house, it's still like secondhand nature where you sit there and you still want to make sure that your kids are okay. Right. So text me when you get home. And if he doesn't text me, like, if he leaves my house, I generally fall asleep on the couch, like 9:30, 10 o'clock. He leaves my house, I won't fall asleep. I'll wait for that text. If that text doesn't come in, I'm texting him.
We have an espressos.
I won't be able to go to sleep until I make sure he's home all right. As it is, when he was little, I was probably a helicopter dad. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
I probably was, to an extent. The only thing I didn't do was, have protective helmet on him or something like some people do these days. But other than that, I was always hovering over him.
What's been different since he moved out? Like, for you, not even for him. Like, for you, what's been different since he moved out the house?
It's funny. So I heard of empty nest syndrome. Didn't really know what it was. Didn't really understand it too much. I'm like, what the heck is that? Is that a real thing or is this a made up thing? The first couple of weeks, I'm like, oh, nice. He's got his own place.
What is it? What is it?
Empty nest?
Yeah, I'm not there yet to look into these things.
You probably won't be there for quite some time. So empty nest is, like, think about it. It's a nest. You have your family in your home, right? So he was part of the household, right? So now he's like, like a bird flies off on its own, right? He's independent. He's got his own life. He's no longer living with us. So now my life doesn't revolve around myself, my wife, and my son. Now I come home, it's just me and my wife. So that interaction of having my son there is no longer there. So what happens is you kind of go through a little bout of depression. It is sad, but it's bittersweet, right? Because although you may be sad that you miss your interactions with your child, even as an adult, it's good because your child is good. Your child he's on his own. He's got his own life. So that's the comforting part. And that's more powerful than, the little bit of sadness you may feel because now it's just you and your wife and you don't have that interaction anymore. But then there's other chapters in your life. Like, recently obviously we just had a grandchild, so now it's a new chapter. So that's going to help fill that little void that you have as an empty nester.
What do you do anything different in the house now that he's gone? Like, do you work out? Do you walk around with your shirt off finally? What do you do?
So do I walk around?
What do you do? What do you do? I mean, like, for example, like, I tell Thunder, there's certain things you just can't do in the house with the kids. Like, she likes to walk around with no clothes on. And I'm we can't do this, you know? So I know she's like, when the kids get out the house, no one better just walk through the door because I'm going to be like that 90% of the time.
Right.
So is there anything like now that he's going that you're like, you know what? I can watch my X-Files all day because he's not going to criticize me.
I will leave my beer glasses sometimes in the living room for a couple of days. And before, I would do it. But like if I gave him a hard time about, hey, Andrew, can you why don't you take the recycle out, or why are you leaving the glass in your room? He's always been smart where he'll say, what about you? So he always had that ammunition. So he would look in the living room and was like, oh, look at these glasses. They've been here for like 2-3 days. So then I made a point. I made sure that my glasses were always put back in the sink and washed. So now I can leave them this once I want. There's nobody to say anything. Yeah. So it doesn't matter now. I don't have to answer to anybody. See, with him, he always had the ammunition. If I said something, I knew. I'm like, wait a minute, he's going to have something back. Because it's when you're a parent, there is that little entitlement where you kind of practice hypocrisy. Because in your head, whether you realize it or not, it's your house, especially old school, your house, it's your rules, regardless. So you can break the rules that you're setting for your child, right? But then when they catch you on it, what do? You're not going to make an argument. You're like, he got me.
Isn't it crazy how you learn so much about yourself through your kids? I'm telling him to do what I'm doing. Like, don't do that, but you're doing it.
Yeah, I think it is, right? It is the way you raise your child, the way you interact with other people. It's a reflection upon who you are.
But it's different. What I'm saying is like, there's certain tendencies that Avery has that irks the hell out of me.
You probably have the same one.
And this is my exact tendency.
No,
I don't even know I have it. That's the thing. I don't even know I have it until I see him do it. And I'm like, oh man, that is me.
Yeah.
Like even when he was first born, he would sleep with his arms over his head, right? And I was like, who sleeps like that? And then I have photos of me and him sleeping together like that.
In an ideal situation, before you act, you think about what you're going to do, what you're going to say. But that's not real life, right? People react. We're reactionary. So I think when you're raising kids, sometimes most people are reactionary more so than anything. Your reactions are appropriate. But there's going to be times where you sit there and say, probably shouldn't have said that. I probably shouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is depending on the age, how do you approach that? Do you apologize? Do you explain yourself? What do you do? Right? And if you're a new parent, no one's going to tell you what's right, what's wrong. So you're not sure. If you apologize, you look weak, right? And then you figure maybe they're not going to take me seriously next time. So sometimes you don't apologize. Then you don't understand the impact until later on. But it's a progression, right? It's a journey. You learn as you go. If you put yourself in their shoes, how were they really reacting towards what you said or what you did? But that's why when you're a parent and you have more than one, I think it's a learning experience, right? So little things you probably made mistakes with the first one, you try to correct the second.
When it came to Evolve, she was great, right? I like some of her stories. I don't know how she figured out that we always afraid of the gorilla suit. Because what I do know is when she figured it out, she used it as ammo. And then when she lost the suit and only had the mask.
Who figured it out? Who's the one that figured it? Was it Brandon?
I don't know, but I still recall when she would bang on the window and go, woo-doo, and we would just see the mask and then she'll come in and laugh and we were just wilding out. Because it's random as a kid, right? You look up, you see a gorilla in the window. She loved it too.
She used to love scaring you guys.
Yeah, but I don't know why. First off, how do you lose the whole bodysuit and only not the mask? You just the other way around.
And she'd be in the suit laughing. I could hear her laugh. I'm like, wow.
She's laughing.
She's having a great time. She gave up when, like you said, she lost the suit and you guys were getting older. So when she lost the suit, she only had the mask. So she would still wear her, like, whatever you want to call that.
Her nightgown or whatever.
It's an apron, right?
Yeah.
So she'd still have her house apron on. So she'd go into the room and she'd put the mask on. She'd come out with a house apron. I'm like, the kid's going to find out it's you. When you guys were little, you didn't realize it. But eventually, you guys figured it out, right?
Yeah. But it's a good story for us as grandkids of her. Now that you have a granddaughter, you think you're going to try to do anything to make it like Andrew said he had that special memory with you, right? Going to see Michael Jordan and everything. And is there anything like you're like, oh, I didn't get to do this with Andrew. I want to do this with the baby.
I honestly think that it's going to get to the point where they're probably going to sit there and say, Dad, can we do something with our kid? Because I honestly, like, any opportunity we have, like, ice capades, stuff like that, I would love to take the kid. Because we were able to do that with Andrew. But I also know that's Andrew's kid, too. So obviously I'll have to try to, I'll request some time with the kid, with her. But I'm not going to be like overbearing because I know he's a great dad and she's a great mom. And I know they got their own plans for their daughter. And I know they're going to have stuff planned for events. And I'm sure, and hopefully we'll probably be included in some of those plans. So I'm not going to try to like hog all my time with my granddaughter, but I'm definitely going to try. You have this child, you look at that child once and all of a sudden it's love, right? Like you love that child like you wouldn't believe. And it's like, I need to protect this child. I need to do everything for this child at all costs. And there's a little bit of pressure to make sure that that child is going to be all right. And a lot of times you don't get the fun of raising a child. A lot of it's kind of be like, I got to do this and that, get all my ducks in a row. And hopefully you get a little bit of that fun experience with your child, but you don't always get that. I think with a grandkid, I don't have that pressure, right? I know my son and his wife are going to do a great job. They're going to raise her, right? They're going to socialize her. Obviously I might have a little part of it. For me, it's just the fun. I don't, I see my granddaughter for a few hours or whatever, and then she goes home. It's going to be their job to socialize, which they're going to do a great job. It's going to be their job. They're so ready for this that it's going to be easier for them, I think, than it was for me.
Oh, and he's a planner.
No, I think they're
that
both
plans.
Yeah, he's a planner. They're both they're just great at it. Like I was thinking about it the other day. I was there for football, and it's her first football experience with her parents, right? And they're commemorating it, right? So he's got his Falcons gear on, and his wife has Falcons gear on. The baby has Falcons gear on. Aunt Tammy has Falcons gear on, and they're taking pictures. And I'm like, this is great. Like they're taking in every moment, every special moment. They're embracing it and they're planning it. And that's I think the big difference when you're kind of prepared, right? They're prepared and they're embracing the whole experience, everything. Like it wasn't like, it's sad, but it wasn't like that for me. But it is like that for them because they're ready and they're prepared for all of it.
Was that a goal of yours, you think, to have him in a position that he can be prepared and ready? Because you said you wasn't, right?
I think initially it was just a matter of making sure that my son was going to be raised to be a good person overall, that he was going to be financially independent, and that he was able to take care of himself. That was my primary goal. Him being like this with his daughter, it's a bonus, really, if you think about it. This is all stuff that he's wanted to do, right? As far as how he is with his daughter, like how his planning, all that stuff. This is all him. He didn't learn that from me. I was never a planner when it came to that kind of stuff. Like when we go see the baby, he had a hat. I think it said "Daddy's Girl," and like it's all planned, right? You got to put an order in for that hat. It's not like he had the hat in his closet, right? So he's planning. He's planning for all these special moments.
I just found out he even plans what episodes he's gonna watch and when he watches them. He's
good at that. I think it's better to be a planner, but I think he's also spontaneous. I think he'll make like decisions last minute.
They're planned spontaneity though. You can't say he's like, I'm gonna carve out a 3-hour open window on Tuesday and then I'm gonna figure it out on Tuesday. That's still planned.
Clear spontaneity. Yeah. Well,
but I'm just curious because I know some of the backstory, but what was like that life you expected for parenting, and then what the difference was? All right, let me just ask this. When you're like 14 and you're like, by the time I'm 25, I'm gonna have $1 million house paid in full, 10 million in the bank, this and that. Blah, blah. You have like these crazy, unrealistic expectations where, now you're on the other side of it, you're like, shut up. You'd be lucky to be probably in a career by then.
Right.
But you didn't have that. You got the kid early.
Yep.
Unexpectedly. Once you found out you was having Andrew.
Yep.
What was you thinking it was? Did you expect it was going to be rough, or did you was like, nah, I got this?
Nah, all right. So I'll be honest. So when your aunt told me that she was pregnant, the first thing I said to myself was, I need a job. It was right off the bat, right? I wasn't working. I was in school.
High school.
I was in high school. Yeah.
Yep.
So prior to finding out about her pregnancy, I barely went to school. I really wasn't into school. I did well in school when I went, but I really didn't like school. But my senior year, I did very well because I knew that the odds of having a good job without at least a high school diploma or a college degree, I was going to be living with your grandmother the rest of my life. And I didn't want that because she would complain if the kitchen was dirty. So I didn't want to deal with all of that. So the first thought was, I gotta get my stuff together if I'm going to take care of a human being, right? Like if you can't care for yourself or put yourself in a good position, how are you going to care for somebody else?
So you basically had a sense that reality was going to be rough.
Yeah, but
did you think it would be as long though?
Honestly, I think I was blessed because as far as being in a critical state of financial need, it was probably only, truthfully, maybe 5 years. After that, I was okay financially. I just was trying to get my career together. And when you say rough, I grew up I grew up poor, which I didn't know was poor. There were 10 of us, right? Your grandfather had a minimum wage job. Your grandmother watched kids at home. And between the two of them, they made ends meet. I always had food to eat. I always had a roof over my head. The power was always on. I had clothes on my back. I didn't know I was poor until later on in life when I had to disconnect from the dependency of my parents, buying me food, paying my bills and all that. Now I have to do that now, right? Now I have to go to the grocery store and I'm like, oof, it's expensive.
Cucumber 38 cents.
Now I know I'm poor because I got to pay for all this myself.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit tough from the initial transition, but because I never really had surplus in my life anyway, I didn't know what steak looked. I never ate real steak until I met your aunt. She put a steak on my plate and there was a bone on it. I'm like, what is this? She's like, it's a T-bone. I said, a what? A T-bone? Well, it's a T-bone. She goes, it's steak. I said, this isn't steak. She goes, what kind of steak do you eat? I'm like, I said, one day you'll come by. So, cube steak. It's the cheap steak. Still the steak I knew.
Yeah, the one that's like thin as a pancake.
The one they beat to death.
Yeah.
They tenderize it. And you know what's funny? I still prefer the cheap steak.
Yeah.
I grew up on that cheap steak. I never knew there was a T-bone steak or a prime rib. We didn't grow up that way. So, even though I had my struggles for the first 5 or 6 years, they weren't bad because I didn't transition from like a level of doing very well, like from a financial standpoint, having all these nice things. I really did, and I didn't care for it. Obviously, if I came from a level of opulence and wealth, and then I'm on my own, it'd be different. That's why I don't regret my upbringing at all, because it made me modest and it made me who I am. So
you was in training the whole time and didn't even know it.
Exactly, you don't know it, right? Because I think every generation hopes that the next generation does better, whether it be financial or whether it be, where they are in their lives. Your grandfather was a fisherman. He did the best he could. I honestly, if I could give a Father of the Year award, I give it to my father. And that's not just because he's my father, but uh, for somebody to come here with 8 children, 9 on the way, the 9th on the way, with no education, all he knew how to do was fish. He didn't know how to do anything else. Come to a brand new country and make it. They bought a house. They paid their bills. They raised 10 kids. Knock on wood, none of us went to prison. All good people, decent people. He did that. I mean, my mom did that. We provided for Andrew. He did it himself. I didn't do the work.
But you put him in the position.
I gave him support he needed.
Yeah.
To accomplish whatever endeavor he had. But he accomplished that endeavor. I didn't do it. I'm not the one that established his career path. I'm not the one that did any of that. I just said as a parent, hey, whatever you need, whatever you think you need for as far as support, I'm going to support you so you can do it. But I didn't do the work. He did all the legwork. So that's why, like, I'm proud of that, right? He, like, for me, it was different. I had to get jobs, and it took me 12 years to get my degree. I wouldn't want that for my son. So it's different, right? When you sit there and you set up for your child to be in a good spot, and they take the ball and they run with it, that's great. As a parent, you're like, oh, this is what I wanted, right? This is what I want to set up for my child, and they're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put all of this in front of them and you give them all the building blocks they need, and they do nothing with it, then where do you go as a parent? Like, what are you going to do? Like, now at this point, if you continue to help, you're enabling, right? You're not really helping them because they're not really caring for themselves. But if you give them everything and they do it all on their own, that's great. Because they don't need you anymore, really. You think about it. Like, my son don't need me. He doesn't need me for anything. That's one thing I'll say is I can rest easy at night knowing that he's good. There's nothing I need to do. I think it may have worked out. Maybe parenting had something to do with it, but at the same time, luck has something to do with it too.
What's the best advice for being a father you've probably ever got? Is there anything like that someone said that you're like, you know what? That's good advice. I'm going to apply that. Maybe I should pick up my beer and put it in the sink.
Well, it's funny. It depends who gives you the advice, right? So, I would get advice from your grandmother. She would give me advice from a grandparent's perspective. So I would try to ease off a little bit. So it depends. Another parent giving you advice may come off a little bit different. So grandparents' advice, totally different than a friend or a parent.
What advice are you thinking you're going to give?
The only advice I would give is that, especially early on, a child needs a parent more so than a friend. And you may transition later. If there's going to be priority between roles, whether it be a friend or a parent should come first because they can have a lot of friends. I think you could balance the two, but parenting first and foremost. Sometimes you do things like if I punished Andrew when he was little, it bothered me more so than it bothered him being punished because I didn't want to see my son upset. But at the same time, when you're raising a kid, I think the advice I would say is reward when they do well and punish appropriately when they don't.
Today, I was like, hey, Blair, do you want pow pow? She's like, no, I don't want pow pow. I was like, do you want to go to a birthday party? She's like, yeah, I want pow pow. I want pow pow. Yeah, well, I appreciate you coming on my podcast, Times with Dad, which is, by the way, before your job, how surprised are you that I did a podcast about this? Probably the best idea I had, right?
Well, actually, if anybody's going to do it, I would think somebody like yourself would do it. You're comfortable on camera. You're comfortable speaking. I think this is great. I like it.
You survived it.
Yeah, hopefully it wasn't.
Oh, it's going to be good.